Okay, so my first question to you is, we're talking about slope today. This is lesson 8 from chapter 1. There's a lot in this chapter, but here's the good news. Everything we've been learning has been literally piling on top of each other and building off each other. Do you not agree? I mean, we've been talking about constant rate of change. We talked unit rate. So everything has pretty much been piling on top of each other. If I ask you what the word slope means to you, what would you tell me? What does that word slope mean to you? Yep.
Like sledding.
Ooh, sledding on a slope. Okay. Skiing and you go down. Any other ideas? Slope? Drake? Okay. Is it always going down? I don't know. Bo? Could be just a hill. Okay. Oblique angle. What's the word oblique mean?
Like maybe going
Diagonal. Okay. Here's the thing with slope. A lot of us automatically start going down. But here's your slope. Let's think about this. If you're at top of the slope, what's going to happen? You're going to go down. But what if you're on the bottom? You're going to go up, right? So a slope, what's that? Walk up a hill. Can't you walk up a hill? Right? That's considered slope. You guys, everything you have, everything has a little slope to it. Your desk has a little slope to it. Your binders have slope. Everything has a little slope. Even the road. Water needs to run off of it. Everything has a little slope. Now, the definition for slope is this. This is the definition. The first thing I want you to write down is this. Tells how steep a line is. That's the definition of slope. Tells how steep a line is. Now you can actually put a number to slope. It's not just, oh, that hill is really high, or geez, that slope is really steep. You can actually put a number to slope, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. So 2 other things you need to write for me is this, because this is like the equation, sort of, for slope, and this, because this is going to help you remember how to find it. Okay, so this is like the equation for slope. You make sure you get this in your notebook. And this down here is how to remember how to find it. And you might not understand yet, but that's okay. You will understand in a little bit. I'm going to show you some examples. Anybody still need this slide yet? Good to go? So I have change in y over change in x, so this is the equation how to find it. But this right here, rise over run, is going to help you remember how to find it. We're not going to be able to remember that, most likely, but you will use this to remember. Okay? Now, on your graph paper that you're going to use for your notes today, I want you to make this chart, or this table, or this graph. And let's do days down here. I'm going to give it something so we can talk about it. And let's do books read. I want you to make this on your paper. You can use the whole page if you want. And I want you to get out, if you have like a colored pen or a highlighter or some colored pencils with you, I want you to get those out. You're only going to need 2. You don't need your whole box. Okay? So if you got something with you, I want you to get it out because you're probably going to use it. Is there some back there? Is there some back in that white thing? Okay, make sure you get everything labeled correctly. Make sure you also put those points on there. That's really, really important. So your points are going to be 1, 3, 2, 6. Okay? Those points have to go on there. And then I actually want you to connect those dots and make a line through the origin and keep going. Okay? Just like what I have up here. Because this is going to be your example of how to find slope on a graph. take a little more. Okay, so make sure you got those dots on there. Make sure you got stuff labeled so you know, because I'm going to ask you some questions about it, and I want you to be able to understand what each axis is. Also, make sure you put that this is x-axis and this is the y-axis. And beside, if you're getting close to done over here, why don't you just put rise over run. Anybody need some more time before I start explaining? Keaton? Oh, just hold on to it. All right, so let me show you how to find slope. The first thing I'm going to do on my graph is I'm going to find 2 points on my graph. Luckily, I already have 2 points on here for you. So I'm going to use this point and I'm going to use this point to find my slope. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find my rise. Guess what's on top? My rise. That's what I'm going to do first. So I'm going to start at my lowest point, and I'm going to go up as many spaces as it takes me to get me so I'm even with that next dot. So watch. I'm going to go up 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces. So guess what my rise is? 3. Yep. Okay, then grab a different color if you want a different color. Now I'm going to start at that line, and I'm going to count how many spaces it takes me to get from that line over to my next dot. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go this way. Guess how many spaces that was? Just 1. If I look down here, I want 1 space, right? So my run is 1. So this right here is going to be considered your run, and this over here is considered your rise. And then I'm done. My slope is 3 over 1. That's it. I'm done. Okay, so remember, I'm going to start at my lowest dot, and I'm going to go up as far as I can to get even with that next dot. And to me, that was 3 spaces because I went 1, 2, 3 spaces. And then I have to go over that 1, and that's would be considered my run. Okay, so my slope is 3 over 1. And then they might ask you, well, what does that slope mean? What does that 3 over 1 mean? This is when you use your graph and the axis to figure out what it means. What does 3 over 1 mean to you, Brandon? Okay, but what, yes, that's right, that's how you find it. But what does this actually mean, Bo? Okay, what else? What does it actually mean in terms of my graph? For every 1 day, I read 3 books. There. That's it. For every 1 day, I read 3 books. If they ask you to say what that means, that's what you would say. Okay? Let's do another example. Okay, now here's my graph. Now you can do another one if you want, or if you just want to watch, you can just watch. It's up to you. Okay? Now, I'm doing laps in minutes. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my slope. So the first thing I need to do is what to find this? I have to do what? Pick 2 points, right? So let's pick 2 points. Let's pick this one and this one. Could I pick this one and this one? Sure, I'll show you that in a second. So then, to find my rise, what am I going to do? I'm going to start here. I'm going to go up, so I'm even with that dot. And how many spaces was that? 1, 2. Okay, so my rise is 2. Okay, now for my run, what do I have to do? How many did I go? 1. So my slope is 2 over 1. Okay. What if you said, well, I don't want to pick those 2 points. I want to pick this one and this one. Let's find slope for these 2. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's my rise. And my run is what this time? Guess what? What is forward to reduce to? So no matter what points you pick on this graph, it's always going to be the same slope. It does not matter what points you pick. Okay, let me do another one. I want you to pay attention to this one even closer. Okay? Pay attention to this. Let's do two. And let's do okay, let's find the slope for some of these points. I'm just going to do these two again. So rise, I'm going to go up. But did I really go up 2? How many did I go up? 10. 5, 10. So it's so important to watch what's on the side of your graphs. Because it's not always going to be 2. It's not always going to be 1. You have to look to see how much each one is worth. So this is 10, and what is it over? 2. So it would be 2 over 10 over 2, which is 5 over 1. Now listen, when you have slope, you can't say it's just 5. Both said before it's 3. You have to keep slope in the fraction form. Because if I ask you what that means, you need to be able to tell me, well, for every 1 minute, you go 5 laps. You have to keep that 1 there to help you determine what that slope means. Okay? Questions? Are we getting it? Okay, so what? I'm just making it up. It doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. Maybe it's a jet. I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna make another one, and I want you to tell me what slope is. Okay, Keaton, put them away. I want you to tell me what the slope is. So if I go, okay, figure out my slope. So down here I'm going by 5s. Here I'm going by 1s. First of all, pick 2 dots. It's easier just to do 2 that are right beside each other. What's my rise? How many will I need to go up? 2. And what am I going to need to go over? 5. So my slope is 2 over 5. A lot of people would say this. Why is this not correct? Trevor. Yes. Right. If I write it like this tells me that this is my rise and this is my run. 2 totally different things. If I went with this, then this is what it would tell me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2. Oh, no. It actually be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then like this. Does that even look close to the line of the path? Not really. I can use my slope to figure out where the next dot is going to be. So you told me it was what? 2 over 5, right? Up 2 over 5, up 2 over 5. Guess where my next one's going to be? Up 2 over 5. Do you see how I can continually use my slope to figure out where my next one's going to be? I can keep doing it because it's going to go up 2 over 5, up 2 over 5, up 2 over 5, up 2 over 5. If you look at your homework from yesterday, it looks like this. Your graphs, your charts look like this. Yeah, right there. Number 12, I believe. Or what is that one? Is that today's homework? Yes. That's yesterday's. Yeah, yesterday's. Number 3 looks like that. Look how they did the red, the blue, the red, the blue. And 12 does too. Yep. So they were kind of getting you prepared for this already. Keaton, do you have a question? Yeah. How did I get 5? Sure. Look, because remember, I went up 2, and look how much my interval is down here. 5, 5. Took me 5 spaces here. Do you see that? I went 5, 10, 15, 20. So instead of moving, I'm actually moving 5 spaces. Add it to the number going up. So here, I started here and I went here, right? I went up 1, 2 spaces because I'm only going by 1s on my intervals over here. But here, what am I going by on my intervals? 5. So when I really go over that 1 space, how many am I really going over? 5. So 2 over 5. Keaton. Yes. Yep. Look at that. And then somebody asked me in another class before too, what if you have this? Jeez. So it was 1, oops. It was 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going from here to here. What am I doing? I'm going up 2. But if I'm going over 1, what am I really going over? A half, yeah. So you have to pay attention to your intervals of what you're going by and how your homework is, or not, how your graphs are lined up here. Okay. So I have a few other things I need to show you. We'll come back to that. Okay, so let's say they don't give you a graph this time, but they give you 2 points, and they want you to find the slope. Okay, so they're going to give you 2 points like this, and they say find the slope. We don't want you to graph it, but we want to know what the slope is. So on your notebook, I want you to write these 2 down. So I'm going to show you an example of this, how to do it. So we're going to find the slope in these 2 points, and we're not going to graph it. So 2, 3, and 4, 6. 2, 3, and 4, 6. Make sure you get them written down in your notebook. So you're going to want to know how to do this. So think of when we first did our graphs, we found 2 points, right, to find the slope between. They're giving us those 2 points. So I'm going to label this first one 0.1, and I'm going to label this one 0.2. Because remember we had 2 points, and we started at the lower and went to the higher. Well, the bottom is 0.1, and the second one's my 0.2. So 0.1 and 0.2. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out, okay, in my coordinate pair, I always have an x and a y, right? So I'm going to label this x, y, x, y. So remember, rise comes first, right? And rise is always up and down. Up and down is always on what axis? The y-axis, right? Okay. So I'm going to find my y's. What numbers are my y's in there? 3 and 6? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the y for my second point, which is what's the y in my second point? 6. And I'm going to subtract the y in my first point. What's the y in my first point?
3.
Okay. Subtract those. Guess what my rise is? 3. Then I'm going to work with my x's, because remember the run is on my x-axis. So I'm going to take my x from point 2. What's my x from point 2? And I'm going to subtract my x from my point 1. What's the x in my point 1? Okay. Subtract, and I get 2. This is my slope, 3 over 2. I didn't even graph them. So I took the y at my point 2 minus y at my point 1, x in my point 2 minus my x in my point 1. So what's happening is you're taking this one minus this one, and then you're going to take this one minus this one. And that's going to give you your slope. Slope doesn't always have to have a 1 underneath of it. Slope can have all kinds of numbers in it, so it doesn't always have to be 1. Yes? Yes, you have to reduce to the lowest thing. And if it's, like, look at this. You guys would say, oh, that's an improper fraction, right? Leave it like that. Because remember in slope, I just need to know how many I'm going up and over. If I would change this to 1.5, I would have no idea how many I'm going up and how many I'm going over. So you have to leave it as an improper fraction. But reduce as low as you can. Okay? Let's do another one. Okay, so here are my other 2 points. I have 4, 9, and 5, 10. 4, 9, 5, 10. Okay? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label point 1 and point 2. And then I'm going to label my x's and my y's because I have to make sure I know which ones those are. X, y, x, y. And I always like to see. Okay, now remember, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with my y's. So what numbers am I going to subtract? I'm going to take y in my second point. Yep, y in my second point minus y in my first. And Tessa told me that's 10. And what's y in my first? 9. And let's see, my x in my point is 5. And I've subtracted the x in my first point, which is 4. So guess what? It's 1 over 1. That is my slope. What? What? Why not? Okay. That's okay. So when I first see my points, I label this is going to be my point 1, that's going to be my point 2. Okay? And then I label them x and y inside. So then I can say, well, the y in my point 2 is 10. The y in my point 1 is 9. Okay? Then I subtract them. Yes. Yes. Always. Actually, this is that's the equation for it. Okay? That's the equation for it. y2 minus y1, and that's why I label them, so I can see, okay, see which one's y, see which one's x, see which point 1 and point 2. You want to try one by yourself? Let's let you try one by yourself. Okay, so let's do 1, 6, and 4, 8. Okay, so write them like that. Label point 1 and point 2. And then your x's and your y's. Get your y's first. You gotta do 8 minus 6 first. Yep, your y's always have to go first. That's good.
So the y always goes up.
Always, yeah, because remember, rise is always this way, and that's your y-axis, and your x is always this way. Yep. The opposite, the way you graph something. Exactly. There you go. Yep, and then subtract that one. Very good. Oh, wait, what's 4 minus 1? 3. All right, so here's the thing, you guys. Here's the thing. I'm guessing a lot of you maybe subtracted the wrong thing first. Remember, rise over run. What is your rise? Your y's, right? That's why they have to go first. Your runs are your x's. That's why they have to go second. So you just always your y's and then your x's. Okay? Questions on that? Yes, ma'am. Oh, that's an and sign, honey. I'm sorry. And there you go. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
Is that better, Kenzie? Okay, I want to show you one more thing here. One more thing. So on your homework today, what they're going to do is they're going to give you a situation, and they're going to want you to graph it, and they're going to want you to tell what the slope is, and then they're going to want you to tell what it means. Okay, so let's do one of those together so you understand what you're going to see. So they're going to give you some information, and actually in the homework they're going to tell you, okay, in week 1 a plant grows 3 centimeters. Then they want you to fill in the rest of the table. In week 2, how many digits does it grow? 6. 3, 9, 4, 12. When you have to make your own table, you only need 3 things. That means you wouldn't need something like this. Just make 3, that's all. Okay, when you make your own table, you don't need any more than 3. So now my job is to graph this. What should we put on the bottom, do you think? Whoop, should we put the weeks on the bottom? I like the weeks on the bottom too. You're going to have to do this in your homework, so I hope you're paying attention. And then the plant height will be on the side. And I'm going to go by 3s probably. All right, so can I graph now? You remember how to graph? For every 1 week, how much does it grow? Yeah. 2 weeks, 6. 3 weeks, 9. And I'm just going to do the next one because it's up there. Then I'm going to make my line. Now my question is, now you have to find the slope. Do you remember how to do that again? Okay, so let's pick 2 points. This one and this one. Okay, so if I go up first, right, rise, how many did I go up? I really went 3, right? Because look at 3 and 6, so 3. How many did I go over? So my slope is 3 over 1. Now it's going to ask you, what does this mean? What does it mean, Keaton? Wonderful. Close enough. You're right. Okay. What if I ask you this? Because they're going to do this to you too. And they're going to do 3, 9. They're going to tell you what a point is. Think of yesterday. What does this point mean, Kenzie? Yes. So so it's going to ask you what points mean. What if I ask you what 0, 0 means? No weeks, no growth, right? Okay, so we're going to kind of talk about a little bit yesterday, too. They're going to bring that back a little bit. Is this not the same as finding the constant rate of change? What's it constantly going up by? 3, right? For every 1 week, it goes up by 3. Same thing as constant rate of change. That's it. That's all. What I need you to do, though, is I need you to get out your book, because I have to tell you about some of them in your book.